Change your heart, change your life, change the planet.
Hey everybody, it's Tim Van Orden, floating in whiteness, or simply on the old stage road with an iPhone that doesn't quite know how to expose my face and snow at the same time. Anyway, I'm out here with my big boots on in the deep snow, and I'm going to slog to the top of the mountain where all kinds of creatures are awaiting me. Now, it's a rough day for me. I started out in not so great of a place, physically, not narratively, but physically. And I was not excited to get out and slog up the mountain in my boots. This trail climbs, I think, close to 1,300 feet in exactly 2 miles. So about 650 feet of climb per mile. It's a bruiser, and I'm doing it in heavy boots in the snow. So, one of the comments that I get a lot is that I'm badass because I do stuff like this. And the reality is that I'm the furthest thing from badass that there is. I'm exceptionally gentle and compassionate in my approach to movement. It just looks badass on the outside. For instance, yesterday I did less than 2 miles in Woodford where the snow was almost up to my waist, and moving just 2 steps was exhausting. I would do 2 steps, take a break, 2 steps, take a break. And as I got out towards the road, I was on the other side of the guardrail where the snowplow had plowed it to over 3 feet deep and really, really dense, heavy, salty, wet snow. And 1 step, take a break. 1 step, take a break. And people were driving by, and I could see them looking at me like, is he insane? Or at least that's the narrative my brain was having as I interpreted their facial expressions when I got to see one. Anyway, this process for me is about taking the smallest step possible, whether that be pulling back the covers, whether it be finding a pair of tights, then finding a base layer shirt, finding a base layer pair of socks, and eventually, slowly, over the course of 45 minutes today, getting myself dressed to be out here in 19 degrees Fahrenheit in a lot of snow, huffing up the mountain. And even when I get to the trailhead, I sit in my car listening to an audiobook for 10 minutes before I get out. Just grounding myself, letting myself know that I'm safe right here, right now, and I'm going to do a little work. I'm listening to Joseph Ledoux's new book called The Deep History of Ourselves, which, beyond fascinating. I've been following his work for many years now. He and Antonio Damasio have informed a lot of my thoughts and philosophies, and their research lays the foundation for what I do. So, also Michael Gazzaniga should probably be put on that list. Those 3 have really shaped my thinking about what it means to be human and to move forward as a conscious agent and to set goals. So I'm listening to that. It applies to what I do here. And then I open the door and put my feet on the ground. I look around, feel the temperature, look up the hill, start my watch, take a step, look at the tire tracks in the snow, take a few more steps. Now, no more tire tracks, just snowmobile. Take a few more steps, notice some deer tracks. Take a few more steps and turn the audiobook back on, and here I go. So it's a very small iterative process where I'm checking in at each and every step and evaluating my ability to continue, not based on what happened yesterday, or last night, or this morning, not based on how far I've gone, how tired I am based on how far I've gone, how tired I must be inside of a narrative, or how far I've got to go 2 miles uphill in deep snow and heavy boots. I couldn't make it 2 miles total yesterday, and I wasn't really climbing. Today, I'm going to try 4 miles with a lot of vertical gain. What am I thinking? Well, I don't add that up. I just did for your benefit, but for me, I don't add that up. Those thoughts don't come into my head. What comes into my head is this twig right here, the bud. And it looks like we had a warm day last week, and these trees decided that, hey, maybe we should bud, and now the world is buried in snow. So I'm constantly tuning in. And one of the things that I really love to tune into when I'm out here are animal tracks and how they move through an environment like this, but also just how the brain interprets animal tracks and comes up with a story about what it must be like for those animals, and even more importantly, how our brains see animals everywhere we look, especially when it's snowed a lot. And when we get to the top of the mountain and there's a lot more snow in the trees and we get more spruce trees, I'm going to show you some wild creatures. It's hard not to think of these snow formations as animals with lives, with emotions, with a story, with intention, because that's what our brains do. We tell stories about everything. And my process in getting out here and doing this is to be aware as often as I can of this rise of storytelling in me, about how tired I am, about how much my shoulder hurts from holding up this camera without a selfie stick, and how just it's yucky and gray and what's going on in my life. Lots of challenges at the household. So I get aware when those stories show up, and then I find something to focus on right here in the now, something to tune into, and then suddenly I realize this is what my world looks like. This is the only moment that exists. Everything else is simulated, speculative, and not present. So what allows me to get up this mountain in the midst of, again, one of my deepest depressions, which tend to show up in November and December. That's when I really get hit hard, regardless of light boxes, etc. It's consistent, and this is a doozy that I'm in. And that's okay, because I have this process. I have this practice that I engage in that allows me to move my body in a very powerful way, but yet exceptionally gently at the same time. And I'll be at the top of the mountain before you know it. And I'll be alive, and I'll be full, and there won't be any depression, because rather than engaging in a narrative, I'll be engaging in the world again and again and again. And if I do start telling a story, it'll be a story that I'm creating. A story about fun, a story about magic, but in a playful way, not in a I believe this is true kind of way. Because I love the quote-unquote magical world that awaits me on top of the mountain. Every time we get a deep snow, I do what I can to get up there and take photos of the creatures. Okay, so I'm gonna put the camera down now, listen to some more fascinating book, and take some video of some really cool tracks that we come across. All right, see ya. And this is your standard animal track, 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot. But then right here, I see a different type of track where there's a foot, and then there's a long slide, and then there's another foot, and then a long slide. And if we go across the trail here, you can see the type of foot that's doing that. And then place a foot, slide a bit, place a foot, slide a bit, place a foot. Now we come to the top of a hill, place the foot, and slide, 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 slide way down. In fact, if you go all the way down here, it's sliding between the trees. It's like on a bobsled course, flying through the woods. This is great. It is totally just sliding down the hill. Wow, it is just cruising. That is awesome. I think it's an otter. I'm not sure, but I think it's an otter. I'm going to get you.